buddy. That's Billy. I'm here with my buddy Don. Hi, Don.
Hello.
And this is the Dead Time Radio Show. And we are back again for yet another fun-packed episode. Just want to put some stuff out there. Send us some emails at thedeadtimeradio@gmail.com. And go visit our website at thedeadtimeradioshow.com. There's a little button on there to become a patron. Click on that. Subscribe to us. And then you can listen to us anytime you want. Well, you can listen to us anytime you want anyway because it's free. But
free 99. We like free 99.
Yeah, but if you donate, it makes us happy because it makes us allow us to do better, cooler stuff. Anyway, what's new with you, Don?
Just been some sad stuff here lately. I had a friend that died suddenly. She was 38, and I just found out yesterday, so it's pretty...
Well, that stinks.
And
Thanks for bringing the whole show down.
Hey, man, you asked. Don't ask me my shit if you don't want my shit.
She sharded. That's why she's really sad.
I wish it was that easy. Just get it out of there. Release the demons.
Oh, the demons. Here's the cool thing that'll bring your little spirits up a little bit.
What's that?
This is our 1-year anniversary episode.
1 year anniversary!
We have been doing this for a year.
Oh, my God. That's awesome.
We have been going at breakneck speed and delivering to you guys the best that we can.
All the goods.
And we've been getting a lot of good reviews about our show last year, and we're almost up to 4,000 downloads, which is pretty good for a year, I think.
Yeah.
I would like to see it higher. So tell your friends about us.
Yeah.
And, we're on all the different podcast streaming devices like Apple and Podbean and iHeartRadio. Spotify. What's the other big one? I don't remember. I know what the other big one is. It's in my pants. Just kidding.
Had to get that in there.
I had to get it in there. What are you talking about? A year of Billy's filthy jokes and his dirty mind. But we've been having fun doing it, and we're glad that we can make you guys laugh, make you guys think. So yeah, stay with us. There's probably more coming.
There's a lot coming.
So anyway, today's episode is all about the United States military, the Nazi military, and aliens.
Aliens.
Because there's lots of conspiracies out there about how the aliens are running the show in the military. And it all started around World War II. I saw this really cool movie on Amazon, and it was all about that stuff. So I was fascinated by it, and I told Don, hey, let's do a show about it. So that's what we're doing. So anyway, I found some cool websites to look at some stuff, and we're going to read them to you and see what's going on. Holy crap, this one's got a whole bunch of stuff.
Tell us what you think.
Tell us what you guys think about aliens and whether they're actually the agenda. So, like, the whole conspiracy branches off. Because, first of all, it talks about how aliens are giving technology to different military organizations around the world. Which, that probably isn't really a conspiracy at all. I think it's probably true. But,
it really depends on who got there first to get the aliens and then to interrogate the aliens to get the information.
Right.
So it's
or
not...
which ones did the aliens pick first?
Well, if they crash landed and then we...
Well, that's what some of this conspiracy is that the aliens didn't crash land. They actually gave this information to the governments, and that these governments are fighting a proxy war. There's an actual war going on in space against two alien races. So they have...
what are the races?
Oh, Greys, and I can't remember what... I think it's the Greys and the lizard people.
Okay.
But yeah, there's like large, gigantic galactic wars going on.
So it's Star Wars.
Yeah, basically, with weird shit going on.
Okay.
But it started to really gain ground back when there was conspiracies about some of the technology the Nazis were using during World War II, like flying saucers and things like that. So there's a theory out there that we've been in space a lot longer than they're letting us know. And that's why you're seeing, like, the last administration creating the Space Force.
Right.
which everybody laughed about. But, a lot of people don't realize the Space Force has been around in
They've
the
had
military
it. They
forever.
just renamed it.
It actually used to be a branch in the Air Force, and it wasn't really a branch. It was a squadron. It was Space Command.
Okay.
And that's the ones that took care of our satellites and monitoring in space and all this other stuff. So people joking and going, oh, Space Force, dumbasses, it's been around for a while. It just became its own branch. So stick that up your butthole.
So what's that mean? They don't have to answer to anybody else? They just
Oh,
have
no,
to
they
answer
still-
straight to the top?
No, they still answer to the commander-in-chief.
But they're not under, like, Navy or
No,
Air Force.
they're a department of the Air Force. Kind
Air
of like the
Force,
Marine
okay.
Corps is a department of the Navy, and the Coast Guard is a department of the Navy. The Space Force is a department of the Air Force. Even though it's its own entity, it's still a department of the Air Force. So it still falls underneath the Department of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff and all that other stuff.
So why would they have to remove it to make it on its own?
Because then they can put more resources into it. That's
I
why
got
they
you.
do that kind of stuff.
I got
So
you,
they can
okay.
put more money into it. And probably because it's easier to keep it secret what they're doing if it's one branch and everybody in that branch.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
So if you get, like, the recruiters when you're walking through the mall, they're trying to recruit you into the Space Force? Or do you have to be, like, in the Air Force and they know that you're trustworthy where you keep your mouth shut?
Well,
Is it like a rank, like you were in there for a couple years and then you can go there?
no, I think it still falls under Air Force boot camp, but it just depends on what your job is, like what you choose to do, and when you talk to your recruiter, whether you'll be relegated to Space Force or regular Air Force.
Okay.
So, like I said, a lot of it's going to be like computers, satellites, probably the weather stuff is under there now.
Okay.
And any type of like space flight, spaceships, stuff like that we don't know about, but I'm sure they have. So this first website I have is UFOinsight.com, and it's aliens, agendas, aliens, occult, and the Third Reich. So they all kind of tie together, and that's kind of interesting to me how you would put the occult in there too. But I can understand it in a way because the occult is, everybody this all falls into that occult theory that aliens created us as a slave race.
Okay.
To harvest the resources that they needed, and that's where you get all these different cultures with similar backgrounds and deities, and these monolithic structures that they made and all this other stuff. So it's all that stuff breaks down, and it's really interesting to me. I like that stuff. The Nazis' Third Reich and some of the high-ranking individuals involved with it have been subject to a plethora of conspiracy theories since the end of the Second World War. And it is easy to see why. The military strength of the Third Reich would catch the entire planet off guard when they launched their offenses against Poland, swiftly followed by their capturing of entire countries of Europe with apparent ease. In fact, given the astonishing precision of the military, combined with the fact that many scientists working in Nazi Germany were collectively and literally years ahead of any others, as well as the regime's genuine interest in seeking esoteric knowledge, wisdom, and relics, and further rumors of crashed and recovered UFOs, many researchers have asked the question, as bizarre as it sounds, may they have received help from non-human intelligence, whatever that intelligence might be. I would say maybe.
Yeah, that's one of the shows we did that they have one, and they're just the spaceships that we see are actually we are the ones that are learning how to fly.
Right. It's our own. Yeah, we talked about that a lot, about most of the UFO sightings you see are probably military aircraft.
Right. So I was watching a show, and it was one of the native peoples was talking, and they were like, oh yeah, every Thursday they do a race with an actual alien spaceship and we fly a spaceship. So they race across the sky, and the native peoples are the ones that are saying that actually happens because they watch it.
Right.
So.
I like it. I would honestly think that 98% of all UFOs is some type of military experimental aircraft.
Right.
I think they've had it for quite a while, and they've just...
So it's just us
yeah,
flying around.
And they have just improved upon it over the years.
Trying to get their...
But
when you're in cheer squad, you're just trying to, perfect your formation.
Until you become a better cheerleader.
Yeah, so
The
those
ultimate
lights
cheerleader.
are, like, if you notice, it's like a cheer formation. You got 3 and then 2 and then 1, and it's always a pyramid, and you got to make sure you're on the same.
I don't know. I've never been a cheerleader, so...
You watch
I've
cheerleaders.
checked them out, though.
I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
What rock have you been under?
Fuck, I like cheerleaders.
That's what I mean. You know what I'm talking about.
Furthermore, what should we make of the regime's equally genuine interest in the occult and dark arts of what most of us would recognize as witchcraft or sorcery? Fuck you. Or what of the equally bizarre claims, but made in all seriousness by some, that Hitler himself was possessed by a quote-unquote dark force? A force that some of those close to him claimed would haunt and torment the leader of perhaps the most brutal regime of the 20th century. Two things there. First of all, Hitler was a fucking megalomaniac. He was not fucking possessed by anything. Second of all, they weren't the most brutal regime of the 20th century. They were only the most highly known brutal regime. The most brutal regime was Joseph Stalin and the communists, just so people know. Because Stalin killed far more people than Hitler did. Both suck, but Stalin was worse.
And the dark force, everyone has good and evil inside of them.
Right.
The dark force is, I mean, you are doing evil.
I honestly think that he was mentally
right. He, like you're saying, the megalomaniac, you would, you do it for the power and you do it for the notoriety and the recognition.
He had Napoleon syndrome because I think he was was he short?
He was
He
small.
was short.
Yeah, he was small.
And, he went through a lot of bullshit in his younger life, which kind of cultivated that whole narcissism of him, thinking he was, the one that was going to be the Messiah. And he was a good fucking public speaker. So that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
I'm not giving him any credit. I'm just saying these are facts, people. He had a whole fucking country turn on the whole world.
Well, a lot of the cults, that's how they get started.
Right.
You have one person that knows how to speak and knows how to bring the people in and around their thought process.
And he did it at the right time. Because
they needed somebody
at that point,
to follow,
the depression
and they were so
was
mad and
full
so
force and all that shit. Yeah, so indeed, the Second World War, as well as events that followed and led to it, are themselves surrounded in conspiracy and hidden agendas. And as bizarre as some of those claims of Nazi powers might be, if they are proven true, if only in part, it would suggest not only a different version of events during the war, but also to our collective history that followed and continues to today. So let's see what we got here. It started in 1936 with the Black Forest incident. Although there's no absolute and definitive proof of the incident in the 1930s, in part through the release of documents from behind the Iron Curtain and the dissolution of the Soviet Union, reports began to surface of a crashed UFO in the Black Forest near Freiburg at some point in 1936. According to the claims, the SS were quick to recover the downed vehicle. It was discreetly transferred to main Nazi headquarters in Wewelsburg Castle, the famous triangular three-towered building built in the early 1600s, and privy to what was undoubtedly some of the most brutal military planning in history. Once there, numerous German scientists and engineers would examine and begin to reverse engineer the craft. They would also extract certain aspects of the technology that they perceived to be able to use to their advantage during the upcoming war, which Hitler and the regime were already planning and building up their military in anticipation of. Might incidents such as this, if we assume them to be true for a moment, have contributed to the far advancement of German scientists, both in the run-up to and increasingly during the Second World War, seemingly right up until the fall of Berlin. We will look at this more shortly, as well as what potential achievements scientists working with this recovered otherworldly technology might have managed. However, a claim from 2013 is worth looking at here. An unnamed author who would claim in an online article that he had recovered a pair of field glasses used by one of the SS officers on the night the UFO crashed. By quote-unquote channeling through this item, he would declare, as well as the craft, there was a survivor. What's more, these occupants weren't alien, but humans from the future. Okay,
ooh, that would be even awesomer.
Yeah, that's like a weird fucking twist right there.
That's cool. Do.
Now, I am a little bit skeptical about channeling, especially after watching that video on the Pleiades lady.
No, that's different.
Woo!
Woo!
But and I'm not a big believer of remote viewing.
Well,
either.
Cindy from the Holzer Files has done it before, and it works well. So
I know, but that's a TV show, and even though yes, they look legit, you never know.
You think she has a script? Shit. We don't know.
She's hot though. Oh,
so
she's
it doesn't
so hot.
Matter.
Cindy.
But that would be super cool if it's occupants from the future.
That's scary though.
They're trying to come back and tell us.
Right. They're
Why would
coming
that be scary?
back and because these people came back to help a fucking fanatical regime kill many, many millions of people. and
So
try and
they're
take
saying
over the world
that's
in
what
an
happened.
autocratic society. Well, yeah, that's what he's saying.
Was he trying to prevent it?
I don't know. But they were taking this technology from humans from the future. That's fucking scary, dude. Nazi scientists were far more advanced than we might think. In his book, The Occult Connection, Unidentified Flying Objects, Ken Hudnall would highlight several instances that would suggest the recovering of alien technologies by the Third Reich, as well as the apparent successful reverse engineering of such technologies, if only in part. Hudnall states that following the releasing of classified documents, as well as through the numerous witness statements that have since come to light, it is now known that behind closed doors throughout the Second World War, Nazi researchers succeeded in the development of nuclear bombs, digital computers, the use of liquid air, super metals, and a host of other advanced projects.
So how would we know that if we didn't retrieve it from somewhere?
Well, we did.
The dude that was in the spaceship
Yeah.
from the future.
Many of those involved in these projects were callously rounded up and executed by high-ranking Nazis when it became obvious the war was lost. At the same time, the vast majority of research notes were destroyed. Only a small portion of these records will still survive. Now, here's what's interesting to me, because I don't know if you know what Operation Paperclip is.
No.
Okay, during World War II, at the end of it, that's when the Soviets and the U.S. Were like racing to get all the scientists from the Nazis, the Nazi Party, because of the advanced technology that they were using, like the V-2 rocket that they were firing. So a lot of the old Nazi scientists that were part of all that technology came here. And the reason why they call it Operation Paperclip is because the dossiers that they had for each person had a paperclip mark from where they had like the picture paperclipped to their all their information. People like Werner von Braun, who was like the godfather of NASA. He's the one that created all the rockets that took us to the moon and shit like that.
So they were from there?
Yes.
So did we get the? Did they deflect to us, or did we?
No, they
remove
didn't
them?
defect. They were given a choice. They were like either be executed or come to America and work on our technology, and they did it in secret.
So being executed by Americans or by the Nazis?
By Americans.
So
as
they
war
were
criminals.
saying so that they
These
didn't
people are
come
war
on their
criminals,
own.
and we brought them because they had technology that we wanted.
But they were the bad guys.
But they were the bad guys.
So we're going to murder you. So
It's
we
either
held them
either you're
against their
tried and
will.
executed as a war criminal,
Or we
you
pick
come
your
here
brain.
and we will kind of like they do like when the FBI. You remember that movie Catch Me If You Can?
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Leo.
Yeah.
And that guy that wrote all the bad checks and shit.
Yeah.
He actually works for the FBI now.
Right, I heard that.
Right. And that's
Teaching
kind of
them how
right.
not
And
how
that's-
he got away with it,
right.
what he did, and all the
just so
the way
that they
he
can
did.
find counterfeit checks easier.
Right.
And that's exactly what they did with these old Nazi scientists. Is they said, okay, we want your information and your technology. We're going to give you another opportunity to be a decent human being.
Well, that's actually pretty smart. But if they would have
It's smart, but
turned
it's
on
kind
us,
of
but
unethical if you think
I
about it.
mean, what's not unethical about?
Oh, I
anything
get
that we
it.
do?
I totally get it. I mean, our government's fucking crazy
Like
nowadays.
the benefits outweigh the risks. It's kind of like the medical
Right.
field. Like, am I going to
Well, we got a lot of-
radiate you?
Right.
The
But-
benefits outweigh the risk. Like if it's going to find out if you have cancer or not cancer or
Right.
small bowel obstruction or what have you, the benefits outweigh the risks. So the benefits of the information
Yeah,
that
but
we're
that's a
getting
little
from them,
different because when you're doing that, we didn't kill 6 million people for no reason other than the fact that they were Jewish or Romanian
did.
or fucking retarded,
Right.
things like that. So, yeah, there's a lot of there was blood on their hands. And, I mean, I guess I understand it. Sometimes you got to do dirty things to get ahead of the other dirtier people in the world. But to me,
But did they know, like,
still-
some of the scientists that say the government grabs because they've invented this awesome thing? Well, the person that invents it, they're
they
for the
voluntarily
good.
did all of that stuff.
But what I'm saying is they're for, when they created it's for the good, but the military skews
No.
it too.
Not these scientists.
The Nazis, okay.
They knew what they were doing.
Okay.
They volunteered
That's my
to do it, and because they were all in that whole we're the superior race and
I
we're
got
going to
you.
show everybody how fucking awesome we are.
I got you. Okay.
So it was a different time, and I mean I get it. I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it.
But how are we going to get it otherwise?
Right. I mean, we probably could have, but it would have taken a lot longer. And why wait so long to get ahead when we've got people that can help us out quicker,
Right.
even though they were despicable human beings?
Right. It's not right.
No, it's
And
not
then
right.
after we use them, then we release them. We didn't
Right. They got to live their lives.
They're living among us. Yeah.
Yeah. They got to live their lives and make money off of what they did. And
yeah.
But we did also get a lot of medical experimentation from the Nazis, from the records of some of the most horrific people in the world. And there's a lot of different procedures that we learned, surgical procedures and stuff like that are life-saving now.
Right.
But they have roots in horrific, horrible fucking human experimentation. It's just, it sucks that that's the way you get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How else would you get it?
It breaks your heart because you're thinking, fuck, man,
yeah.
we got this from some bad shit. But it's so useful. It's saving lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the ethics part. It's that gray line. And I'm not a black and white person. I know there's a lot of gray in between everything. But, I don't know, man. It's crazy. And I have to put this in there just from the last show. Dawn called me out hardcore about how I was ripping on people that go, now trust me, I'm telling you the truth. That you can believe me or not. And then I actually fucking said it on my story.
On his Ouija board.
On my Ouija board story, and I was laughing about that shit. This is what
I said it at work. I was like, I thought it was really funny that you said, okay, now this is 100%, and I don't care if you don't believe me, but like 20 minutes before, he's like, that's fucking, when you say that shit, it's like fucking... Shit. He's lying, so...
Well, I'm not lying, it's just...
But you said it, so...
Yeah, I think it's just like... I guess it's human nature to just say that.
Believe
because you really want somebody to believe you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but...
Because
like
it sounds so incredulous, you're right. But yeah, 60% of it and 40% of it, that's the difference there. So 60% of it's bullshit, 40%
But you're telling the truth.
But I'm telling the truth. Yeah, I know. That's the hypocrisy that goes on in my life at all times.
We just laughed. He's like, oh man, I didn't realize I did that.
I didn't. It's fucking funny. Hey, I'm guilty.
But I was listening to the podcast.
But it was all true.
Awesome.
An absolute fury of advancement. Wherever any help might have come from, or whether your advancement was simply one or more of funding, or even a fear to fail technology, and how it found its way into the German military and the many vehicles and weapons it produced, even during the war years alone, was an astronomical achievement. For example, according to Hudnall, the German military were in possession of 57 submarines at the end of the 1930s. However, during the years of the Second World War, they would suddenly build 1,163 submarines.
Wow.
And furthermore, these new submarines were the most advanced and technologically sound as the world had ever seen. Now, that's impressive, but submarines aren't fucking battleships. They're small.
Yeah.
And we also had a lot of things that we did fast. I don't know if you ever remember hearing about... I don't know how much you know about World War II, but it's like one of my favorite subjects. So I learned a whole bunch of shit from it. But we had these transport ships that... You know what the Lend-Lease was, right? Okay, so the Lend-Lease was we were giving Britain materials. Ammunition, weapons, boats, planes, all that shit, while they were fighting the Nazis, because we were doing the whole, we don't want to get in the war, but we'll help you out. Here's some shit for you, right? So it kept them alive. And we were actually transporting shit across the ocean to them. And we had these transports called Victory Transporters. It was Victory or Liberty, one of the two. But anyway, there was, they were getting sunk left and right from the Nazis in their submarines. So they used to build those things. They built one within a month. And these are big fucking troop ships.
Wow.
Because of the technology they were doing is they weren't using rivets anymore. They were welding.
Okay.
So it was like mass production of fucking troop ships, transport ships. And that's all it was. It was just a different technology. It wasn't advanced technology. They were just welding steel together. Mm-hmm. But they were welding it so that it would float and get across the Atlantic Ocean.
Right.
So that they could get supplies. This could be the same thing. You know, these ships might be technologically advanced in the sense of there was a lot of things that that it had in there, but it didn't have sonar.
So it was just a hole.
Well, it had sonar. Yeah, it did. But yeah, it was the things that were advanced were the torpedoes,
right,
the periscope, the targeting system, all that stuff. That stuff was new, and then of course the Enigma machines, which is what they used to put their codes across, secret codes, so that nobody could break it. And they finally broke it near the end of World War II. So they knew all the plans of where the subs were and all that other shit. They broke all the fucking secret codes for Germany, and that was one of their downfalls. So look at that, people. You get history lessons around here, too. There are also several interesting notes in the war files of both the British and United States, and what's more, many of them are surprisingly similar. They mention seeing flying apparatuses resembling British military helmets while on bombing missions over German airspace. Many of these reports speak of pilots opening fire on these strange objects, but they would cause no damage whatsoever. Major R. Holmes of the British Air Force would file a report on 14th October 1943 of seeing several big bright discs during a mission over Schweinfurt.
Nice.
What?
You said that very well.
Thank you. Like other pilots, they would fire upon these discs. Their rounds, however, would have no effect. Might scientists and engineers working under the Third Reich have really managed to reverse engineer or even build from ancient texts a flying craft unlike any other, one we would call today a UFO? So here's a little graphic of the Haunebu
sketch.
And it looks like your classic UFO that you see, the disc shape with the
lights at the bottom
dome
and
top
around the sides. Yeah.
Look at this. It's got little fucking turrets in it. Little bullet turret, little machine gun turrets.
Oh, I see it now.
Yeah. It's fucking
They
crazy.
just look like Christmas lights or something.
So, I'm not going to read all of this because this is a lot of crazy shit. But, so this is where the conspiracy came about the Nazis and aliens, which is very interesting to me. So, we advance a little bit further, and like I said, you had all those Nazi scientists come to America, and our technology boomed.
Yeah.
After 1940s.
Right.
I mean, 1950 was like the boom time for America. Everybody was back from the war. Our economy was back on track. Mm-hmm. Of course, war makes money.
Right, that's why you
even though it costs a lot of money, it still makes a lot of money for contractors and things like
very
that.
Very profitable.
But that's why there's always constant wars going on everywhere, because it's all about the money. But there's also that ulterior motive. Now, I've told you about this guy before, Phil Schneider.
Yeah.
This guy, I don't know if you can believe him or not, but the shit that he says is compelling. And the fact that his death was way weird. So we're going to read about this. Phil Schneider used to be, he's one of the world's most renowned whistleblowers in the world of aliens, UFOs, and conspiracies. Was this self-proclaimed first-hand witness to the government agenda murdered? The story of Phil Schneider is somewhat of an interesting one. It's not easy to prove. However, it is even more difficult to discredit when you delve deeper into the evidence that the man provided in the UFO, alien, and New World Order agenda. Mr. Schneider claimed that he worked for the U.S. government and other elusive companies for 17 years on various projects and under various different roles: geologist, aerospace engineer, and structural engineer. He's famous for his work on DUMBs, the abbreviation for Deep Underground Military Bases.
Why can't you name it something else? Call it
Right?
instead of dumb.
I mean,
That's
we're
dumb.
calling it a dumb.
Like what?
Maybe they did that as a fucking joke to conspiracy theorists. Maybe this is all
Dumb.
bullshit. You know what I mean? Let's just call it a dumb.
Deep underground military base.
They're dumb. Now it is common knowledge that these impressive megastructures do indeed exist, however. Phil's explanation as to what they are used for and why they were built is something that would boggle the mind of the everyday non-believer. Mr. Schneider said that during his time building these underground bases, he also co-invented a machine used for high-powered drilling and tunneling into rock, a heavy-duty laser rock deflagration machine that would melt the rock during the drilling process and apply the molten material as a liquid coating to create the tunnels, quickly and efficiently, some going down into the earth as far as 2 miles. Get hot down there. Schneider claimed to have spent 11 years working at Groom Lake, commonly known as Area 51. Schneider stated that aliens have been in contact with humans for longer than we could have ever imagined. He spoke of a known story dating back to 1909, where the U.S. cavalry chased some bandits into a cave and came into contact with a group of alien greys with horseshoe ships. The U.S. cavalry spoke of coming into contact with demons within the cave.
So that would be an alien that you are not aware of, and they just look like our Christian view of what a demon would be.
Right.
Horned, hooved.
Yeah, weird shit.
Yeah.
He spoke about how in 1933, the U.S., along with aliens from France and England and various other European countries, set up a special research organization dealing with aerial phenomenon. It is claimed that in 1954, President Eisenhower and FBI agents met with alien life forms and signed a treaty which agreed on the exchange of alien technology to the U.S. in return for human test subjects for the extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
We've talked about that.
Yeah, that was one of our...
It's very interesting. Schneider told of how he was involved in the building of huge underground structures, some of which were deeper than 2 miles into the Earth's surface and kitted out with high-speed monorail-style trains that connected the bases together. We talked about that a little bit, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are connected.
Yeah.
That are underground. That...
During his time as a structural engineer, he claimed that he worked on a total of 13 DUMBs. The most notorious was the Dulce facility in Dulce, New Mexico. Mr. Schneider also told how Area 51 on the surface was a small part of the base, claiming that there was a further 9 underground bases built beneath the infamous secret facility.
So that makes you wonder, like when you drive up, you're so far away from the base. Are you over the base? Like, is it an underground? Like, will you be able to feel like the metro train that goes under?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you're that far, is that why the fence is out that far? Because of all the underground?
No, the fence is out that far because people used to be able to get so close they could see when they were testing aircraft and stuff like that. They got really close, and they would go out there and film shit. So they pushed the barrier out further so people couldn't see over the mountain.
But why would
onto the
they
base.
not want you to see it?
Because it's all top secret shit.
But it's not top secret now.
That's where the F-117 was made, and that's basically right here. It was developed using traded alien technology. Area 51 is where they used to test all of their new aircraft, new advanced aircraft. Area 51 and a place in California called the Skunk Works. That's where all secret aircraft were tested and built. So people were seeing, because I remember living in Vegas when the F-117 wasn't even known yet. And people were talking about seeing a UFO in the sky, and it was the F-117.
Okay.
And that was a big thing on the news. Is it an alien? Is it what? And then Desert Storm happened in 1990.
What's F-117? Is that the stealth fighter?
The
that
stealth
black
fighter,
thing that's
yeah.
really... You
the
can't
weird
hear it.
triangular looking... Yeah.
Yeah.
That's... Well, you can hear them, but they don't... Up on the radar, they show up like a small bird.
Oh, okay.
That's the whole... That's why it's all angled.
The point. Okay.
And the type of material that's used is like a carbon fiber type of material that bounces radio waves off of it, so it changes the form on radar. So
That's
you
smart.
can't identify whether it's a plane or not.
That's smart.
Yeah. And nobody really knew about them until Desert Storm came and they bombed the fuck out of Iraq.
Yeah.
And then everybody was like, holy crap. And some people were like, oh my God, that's the fucking plane I saw when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So there you go. Phil detailed how 100,000 children and 1 million adults go missing in the U.S. every year without a single trace. He puts this down to the agreement to allow extraterrestrials humans in exchange for their technology.
Billy, this is what we said on our missing episode.
Yes.
We said it was in national forests.
Right.
So we were correct. When they made the treaty with the president, they probably made the treaty to take humans from the national forest.
Right. And that's why nobody goes looking for them.
No, yeah, that's why they don't
Because
allow you
they're
to put
told
up
stand down.
posters.
Yeah,
They
stand
don't
down.
allow. So, wow.
Yeah. I mean,
Dude,
it's weird
right here
how...
it says-
Isn't it weird how it all kind of connects?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wicked.
Right. And I mean...
1 million adults.
Right. And this
No
is
one's
like,
looking for them.
This is like... this guy was around in, I want to say, the 80s or 90s when he was whistleblowing. And that's why this guy fascinates me.
Yeah.
Because he says a lot of crazy shit.
But if it's true,
But
they
it
murdered
ties
him.
into shit that's going on.
Yeah.
Right. And
now
that's
that
what
we
we're
know,
getting at.
that's exactly. It
Right.
sounds like this. He wasn't. He
And
was a
that's what we're
whistleblower.
getting into. Right.
Like, you need to keep your mouth shut. You need to keep your mouth shut. We're going to murder you. I'm going to tell everybody everything.
He gets...
Because if you've already started, why not tell everything?
Right.
You know you're going to be murdered. You know, it's kind of like you and I say, we would never commit suicide. So if we're hung, it's not us doing it.
Right.
Like
And
that dude. He probably said the same thing.
This guy said some fantastical shit, and I'm sure he's going to be talking about more of it in here. There's some great videos about this guy. You should actually... I think they have him on YouTube. You can see some videos on this guy, Phil Schneider. This guy fucking blew my mind on some of the shit that he said, and I didn't know if I believed him or not. But the more we do this show and the more that we talk about weird
everything's
shit
together.
and how it kind of connects, it's like... This can't be coincidence that this all connects.
But
So-
100,000 children, though.
Right, that's a lot.
Like 1 million adults, that's a lot. But
I mean, we
100,000
know some children
children
go missing and basically they're kidnapped and put into sex slavery and human
right,
trafficking.
but
We
maybe,
know that.
But we don't know, is it this?
We don't know. Right, we don't know if this is also part of it. So his father was a supposed U-boat captain for Hitler's Navy who was captured during the war and ended up assisting in the build of the first nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. With the sightings of UFOs increasing year on year, Schneider made the claim that a lot of the unidentified flying objects in the skies are indeed saucers. However, they are in control of various militaries around the world, all of which the technology has come from alien sources working alongside the world governments. Mr. Schneider, according to him, held a level 3 security clearance within NATO, of which only a couple of hundred are issued worldwide. He told listeners in various different speeches across the U.S. that DUMBs are being built for when the New World Order introduces martial law. According to Phil, the leading militaries around the world are training ex-KGB, UK Special Forces, Green Berets, and others ready to enforce martial law when it is introduced. It's coming closer.
Terrifying.
If you see what's going on...
So my question, this is a weird connection and everything. The 100,000 children, are we in conjunction with, you say you're selling them into sex slaves. Maybe we're not. Maybe there's a different branch of them, the agreement with the aliens.
It could be.
Like we are taking these kids. But now that we have so many social medias and so many video phones and stuff like that, we're breaking the agreement that we don't know about.
I don't know. It could be. You could be onto something. I don't know.
I mean, you steal my kid, I'm going to blow your face off. You'll just take me to jail. I don't care, but that's my point. Like 100,000 kids, can you imagine? Like,
it's amazing. And that's every year.
Yeah. Year. 365 days.
Yeah. Schneider claims to have told the government he would no longer work for a corrupt system that was working against the American people and the Constitution, and decided to leave the system and become a whistleblower, subsequently resulting in 13 failed attempts on his life within 1 year.
What? 13?
So here's my question.
So they tried to kill him 13 times.
If this guy was blowing out bullshit, why would they try to kill him 13 times?
They wouldn't. They would not. You wouldn't even hit our radar. Okay, that guy's a conspiracy theorist. None of he's saying isn't real.
Usually with those types of people, they mock them. And, and they fucking deride them and say, they're just full of shit.
There's a protocol. Remember the protocol?
Right. So he made a bold claim that approximately $310 billion a year was spent on funding these black budget projects, and that a large influx of the cash required to fund them was coming from CIA drug activity in Southern America. According to Schneider, we have many materials that are not known to the everyday person that is being used in various different military manufacturing processes. Many of which he brought evidence of to his speeches, including a form of near-pure titanium that was used on Phoenix-class submarines, and he believed was potentially being mined in space. Now, that leads to Bob Lazar. I told you about Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
So he worked at Area 51 as well.
Right.
And he was talking about that alien metal.
Right.
That's like not on the periodic charts.
Correct. No element that we're aware of.
Right. So Mr. Schneider told the world that the United Nations were the biggest governing body in the world to date. However, he explained that they are taking their orders from the alien Greys, who he described as extremely sinister beings who are renowned for their lies. Probably his most famous statement was that of an intense firefight in Dulce, New Mexico. This is the one I was telling you about. This is fucking insane what this guy said. During the construction of the large-scale underground military base, he laid claim to the fact that 66 government agents were killed in a firefight with the alien Greys after accidentally drilling into their base. Schneider claimed he was shot in the chest with a laser that burned off his fingers and all of his toenails, stating he was only alive to tell his story thanks to a Green Beret who sacrificed himself to save Schneider.
That's the guy you said had burned his arm off?
Yes, he had like two fingers gone and shit.
With a laser.
Right.
Like Star Wars.
Right. Phil Schneider died on January 17th, 1996. The official reason for his death was classed as a suicide. The authorities claimed he was strangled by a catheter found wrapped around his neck.
Dude.
Who the fuck wraps a catheter around their neck?
Ew, nobody.
That's not suicide.
No.
His death came 2 months after his last presentation discussing all of the above. Many people involved in the alien conspiracy community believe that Phil was murdered for speaking out about what he knew. He had already made claim to many attempts on his life after becoming a whistleblower. When you start to delve deeper into the words of Mr. Phil Schneider, it is harder and harder to discredit what he has to say. Almost all of what he spoke about does show many truths when researched.
That's terrifying.
It is very terrifying.
But like when he started, he's just like, okay, we got to do this because I'm going to be murdered and the American public needs to know.
Right.
So here's all of it.
It's fucking crazy, dude.
But like, look at the reporters in China, Korea, South Korea. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
They just took him out.
Yep. And that's what they do. If you get too close to the truth, you get suicided. Kind of like anybody who gets too close to the Clintons' truth. They die of a heart attack, but they have 2 bullet wounds in the back of their head.
Or Superman.
He died of a heart attack.
He's laying on top of his bullet.
Well, yeah, his heart arrested because you just shot him in the back of the head twice.
Yeah. Yeah, that usually follows.
Yeah, that's usually how that works.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
So, Iran says that tall white space aliens control America. Documents leaked by NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden. Interesting. Conclusively proved the United States has been ruled by a race of tall white space aliens who also assisted the rise of Nazi Germany in the 1930s. Now, I remember telling you about that show I watched about living among the tall whites.
Yes.
And that was about a base out in the desert that this guy used to see these tall whites when he would go to the different weather shacks because he was like a meteorologist or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I was telling you about the native peoples, watching the race.
Right.
She was also describing how they smell. It's like a soured lemon smell. So they inhabit the area there.
At least they don't smell like poo.
No, but she's saying that you know when you're around them.
Right.
They
so
have
they
a
smell like Mr. Clean?
Mr. Clean is lemony, like but not soured lemon. No, not soured lemons.
It does. It does. After if you let it sit for a couple days.
If you pee
in the
on
water,
it.
Or if you mop up pee.
You mop up Mara pee.
Yeah. These revelations about our alien overlords might not cost you any sleep. But the part that should concern you a tad is that the UFO story was just published by the Fars News Agency, the English language news service of Iran, a nation that may be very close to acquiring nuclear weapons. This being a crazy conspiracy theory, naturally, the Russians are behind it. Of course, the Russians are behind everything, right? The alleged alien invasion was revealed in an alleged report by Russia's FSB spy agency, which found, quote-unquote, incontrovertible proof, not truth.
It is truth.
That an alien extraterrestrial intelligence agenda is driving U.S. domestic and international policy and has been doing so since at least 1945, said the Iranian.
So when we signed the treaty.
Yeah. Fars apparently got the story. No, we signed the treaty in the 50s.
But that says 1945.
Right. So
it was on there before at 45. And then the president decided to step in and say, hey, look, we need to make some rules about it.
See how it says it maybe, I don't know, maybe they were like disguised in the president's cabinets before that, but there's no reports about that since before Eisenhower. But
what we said, we don't know if it was Eisenhower that came out of there.
Maybe. I mean, but Truman could have had something to do with it too, because he was the one that dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and I think that is probably what triggered the aliens' interest in working with us, because we had first dropped the first bombs.
Gotcha.
So Fars apparently got the story from a hardcore conspiracy site called WhatDoesItMean.com. Here is the gist of the WhatDoesItMean.com story, as best I understand it. Snowden, who has been given asylum in Russia, leaked documents that a race of extraterrestrial tall whites arrived on Earth, helped Nazi Germany build a fleet of advanced submarines in the 1930s, and then met in 1954 with President Dwight Eisenhower, where the secret regime currently ruling over America was established. Most disturbingly, the FSB report warns is that the tall white agenda being implemented by the secret regime ruling the United States calls for the creation of a global electronic surveillance system meant to hide all true information about their presence here on Earth as they enter in what one of Snowden's documents calls the final phase of their end plan for total assimilation and world rule. Now, Edward Snowden, very interesting individual, and we're probably going to end up doing a whole show on the guy because he's leaked a lot of shit. Now, I got in an argument probably about, remember when he first got busted and then he fled to Russia? I think that was like around 2010, 2011. I got in an argument with a dude at work who was pissed because I was like, well, he's committed treason. Because technically he did. Yeah, but he let Americans know what's really going on. I said, I understand that. But he still committed treason. Well, you're just fucked up. You'd have him executed? I didn't say that. I said he committed treason. I didn't say that he should be punished, and I'm thankful for the information he leaked. But under the law of the United States Constitution, he committed treason.
Okay.
So he did commit treason, but the information that's coming out from him is fucking amazing. Because he talks about a lot of shit we're not supposed to hear about. And if I were president, I would be like, let's get him home, extradite him, and then you know what I'd be like? Okay, we're going to put him on trial. Yeah, you're guilty of treason. Don't do it again.
Like some of the people at work get.
Right.
Oh, you're late 92 times and you're supposed to be fired after 6. Okay,
exactly.
Hold on. Don't do that
Exactly.
again.
Don't do that again, sir. Most disturbingly, this he's a fucking hero to me, all right? He's a traitor, but he's still a hero. Sometimes you have to be a traitor to be a hero. Most disturbingly, this FSB report warns is that the tall white agenda being implemented by the secret regime ruling the United States calls for the creation of... Oh, I already read that part. Meanwhile, the U.S. government is embroiled in a cataclysmic power struggle between President Obama, who heads the alien shadow government, and some unknown force that opposed the U.S. alien alliance. So this was written a while ago. Mm-hmm. And this is from Forbes magazine, so this is not like some...
It says 2014 at the top.
So this isn't some bullshit. Forbes is a fucking legit article. Why would they write something like this? You know what I mean? Most to be feared by Russian policymakers and authorities, this FSB report concludes, those opposing the tall white secret regime ruled over by Obama have themselves aligned with another alien extraterrestrial power themselves. Any good conspiracy theory needs a patina of truth, a bit of intellectual cover to camouflage the craziness. In this case, the WhatDoesItMean.com Fars story cites Paul Hellyer, the 1960s Canadian defense minister, who is now a fervent UFO activist. This is almost a funny story until one remembers that Iran is a moderately powerful nation of 76 million people with a possible nuclear arsenal, relatively large conventional military power, extensive terrorist capabilities through its intelligence agencies, and Hezbollah, and a fundamentalist government that could easily engage in hostilities against the U.S. They're not that powerful. There could be if they get a nuke.
Right.
But they're not that powerful. But they're starting to get that way because China's helping them out too. Russia and China.
We don't know what they have.
Right. Laugh, if you will, at conspiracy theories, but they offer explanatory value for their believers, a way of making sense of why things happen, even if it is a funhouse mirror explanation of the world. The Fars news agency is reportedly affiliated with Iran's influential Revolutionary Guards, which suggests that Iran is either desperate to smear the U.S. any way it can, or there indeed is a very peculiar view of U.S. politics at the highest levels of the Iranian government. If there's a bright spot to this as well as a funny bone, it's that the goal of U.S. policy is to contain and neutralize Iranian influence. So perhaps it's not necessarily a bad thing that Tehran thinks its main adversary is backed by the power of space aliens. It's good to have friends in high places, even if they have two heads.
Right.
That's crazy stuff going on, man. It scares me that governments are doing that shit. It doesn't surprise me one bit, but it scares me.
I mean, there's two whistleblowers that I understand that the U.S. government thinks what they're doing and not telling us is for our safety because there probably would be widespread panic. But those of us that believe these stories and believe what the whistleblowers are saying are preparing, and different people have different realities. It's really odd when you talk to people what their reality is. Mm-hmm. Like you and I talk to people and it's like, what world are you living in right now? Like what are you listening to? Your reality is not my reality. You know what I mean?
Right. This is interesting. This was written May 1st, 2021, and this is on exopolitics.org. Is Mars in the midst of a planetary liberation war?
Mars.
On April 30th, Elena Danan, a former professional archaeologist whose claims of contact with extraterrestrials from the Galactic Federation of Worlds have gained widespread attention, delivered by a bombshell report about an ongoing series of military raids on Mars that aim to destroy the bases of a rival extraterrestrial alliance.
Ooh.
The Draconian Empire and the Orion Collective. Dude, that shit sounds straight out of sci-fi.
Yeah.
These extraterrestrial bases were created to suppress the indigenous Mars population, manage the operations of human colonists associated with a German breakaway group called the Dark Fleet, a.k.a. Nachtwaffen, and oversee major Earth corporations that have relocated to Mars. According to Elena, the Galactic Federation has begun helping liberate Mars from the influence of the Draconians and Orions by supporting indigenous Martians with supplies, weapons, and tactical information. The Federation has also been assisting a local resistance movement that exists in the human colonies that have been established on Mars.
Why are we sticking our nose in shit?
I don't know, man. While providing logistical and tactical support to local resistance forces, the Galactic Federation has been using its advanced technologies to incapacitate reptilian and Orion extraterrestrials, thereby enabling the Martian resistance to strike against extraterrestrial overlords and human minions. So we were
Mom
recruited
used to
by
say,
these
you
people.
stay out of it. So
Right.
we're not in it. Why are we in it?
Because we are part of the lackeys of these two things. This is all that shit I was telling you about at the beginning of the show, that there's a galactic war going on in space. That's what people are actually saying. And that it's been covered up. And how many times do you see videos from NASA where they show like UFOs flying around and you see one shoot something and then they like, oh no, that's just space debris. You can't tell because of the parallax of the Earth and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But it literally looks like a motherfucking missile just came off of something.
They have there's live NASA
Right.
things that they wipe.
Right.
There's a lot of people that like screenshot because they watch. There are people that just sit around and watch the NASA thing.
Right.
And then they screenshot. Well, then if you're on NASA and you're trying to find it, it's gone.
So all these Mars colonies that are on there are like secret colonies, and that's probably some of the pictures that we get back. Remember, and they show faces or stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's actually
the
a
people.
civilization there that a lot of people theorize that there's a Martian civilization, that the world really isn't dead. It's dead on the top, but it's not dead on the bottom.
Right. Why can't, just because we can't live on Mars, why could there not be some form of race that can live on Mars?
Right.
So we are not the only one.
Right? So this off of ancientcode.com. Did a Galactic Federation ask Trump not to reveal extraterrestrials? Does the Galactic Federation of Aliens truly exist? An Israeli space security chief who led the country's space program for 30 years has come forward at age 87 with astonishing claims about such a federation, Trump and the U.S. government. Now, if you're 87 years old, you have no fucks left to give.
No, man.
So
Like
why,
every 10 years, you're just like 70. And like 80, you're like, fuck this shit.
So why would anybody just come out with this shit? So that
Because he's going to die any day
Right.
now. So
Right.
what
So-
has he got to lose? If
Right.
you murder me, everybody needs to know about this.
right.
There's so much shit that the government does that we don't know about that we need to know about. That's to
Haim
what I was
Eshed
just
is a
saying.
respected professor and retired general, a 3-time recipient of the Israeli Security Award. So this guy's legit. This guy's
Yeah.
like not bullshit.
Highly recognized.
Mainstream news stories about extraterrestrials and UFOs continue to become more commonplace in late 2020. The New York Times continued to report on the Pentagon's ongoing UFO program with words like off-world vehicles mentioned. Now NBC News and other mainstream outlets reported on Israel's former chief of the Israeli Defense Ministry's Space Directorate. On December 12, 2020, Haim Eshed gave a shocking interview with Israel's Yediot Aharonot newspaper in Hebrew. Then the Jerusalem Post translated it into English. NBC News reported that Eshed revealed the existence of a galactic federation of extraterrestrials. However, he suggests that beings from other worlds aren't sure humans are ready to learn about their presence.
Right. That's what I said. There's going to be a mass panic.
Right. His quote was, the unidentified flying objects have asked not to publish that they are here. Humanity is not ready yet. When will we be ready? He claims the ETs believe we need to be comfortable with the general idea of spacecraft. I think most of us are comfortable with that.
Yeah.
They have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are. Thus, it sounds like we might soon be there soon, but not just yet. In the meantime, extraterrestrials are equally curious about humans as they continue to study the fabric of the universe. For those interested in aliens and UFOs, Eshed's claims won't come as a big surprise. For example, it's long been claimed that the former U.S. President Eisenhower allegedly signed a secret agreement with an extraterrestrial civilization in 1954. Eshed claims there is indeed a cooperation agreement between species, and it's actively going on today. Both Israel and the U.S. have been dealing with aliens for years, he says. Ostensibly, understanding the fabric of the universe was the grounds for the agreement with the Galactic Federation. He says that President Trump was aware of the extraterrestrials' existence and had been on the verge of revealing information, but was asked not to in order to prevent quote-unquote mass hysteria. You know what's funny? Do you remember when Bill Clinton was elected and he talked about how he was going to get down to the bottom of all the information?
He did.
And then he shut up as soon as he got elected.
Yep.
I think you're probably right. They probably sit him in a room and just play the fucking JFK video.
Yeah.
And go, that's going to be you if you open your mouth.
Exactly.
So...
Or all the others.
Right, regardless of
just like flashing up like paper,
regardless
a newspaper.
of what political party it is.
The suicide.
They sit you in and go, all right.
Heart attack.
You want to find out about shit? We'll tell you shit. But you say anything and that's going to happen to you. I totally would fucking believe that at all.
There's probably one dude that does it.
I'm surprised Trump didn't, because Trump had no fucks to give. When he
did not. I'm surprised he didn't either. But something scared him enough not to say anything.
I'm sure they probably said something about they'd wipe
That's
his whole family
the first briefing.
out.
You know, they said, "Oh, you have to have a
that's your very
presidential briefing."
First briefing, exactly.
Your briefing is your briefing on.
Exactly.
Okay, this is your fucking death, and it doesn't matter your first 100 days. Your first 100 days is going to be your last 100 days on this planet.
Open your mouth,
because
and you might get to 99 days.
Yeah, like the things that they're revealing right now, like the classified documents, like it's like so marked over.
But I think it's all released by them. In other words, it's like they time it to release it. So they give you little bits of information to normalize it. So you're ready to know
that Area 51 does have aliens.
So by the time...
You already know that.
By the time they actually go, yeah, that shit's all real.
It's all old.
It's normalized. You're desensitized to it.
Right.
So there is no quote-unquote mass hysteria because you already knew.
Right.
And I think that's what's been going on for years.
Yeah.
So this stuff is
true.
Fucking awesome. It's fascinating to me.
It's terrifying.
It is terrifying too.
And incredible.
There's so many cool things to look up. But unfortunately, we ran out of time. So, you guys give us an email at thedeadtimeradio@gmail.com. Visit our website, thedeadtimeradioshow.com. Click on that Patreon button. Become a Patreon. All that good shit. We're going to have another episode for you next week. We love you guys. I can't believe we've done this a year.
1 year. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Love ya.
Love you.